I don't know how many times I have to say it, but Oda is the GOAT. Oda is literally the GOAT. When it comes to storytelling, when it comes to plotting, when it comes to everything, he is just the best. No one can compare. One Piece chapter 1066, amazing lore drop. And last week, I was a little disappointed with 1065 because there wasn't any real meat to talk about until the end of the chapter. So I decided to wait and not make a video until 1066 came out. And I'm so glad I did because these two chapters now combined had a sweet little baby and there's just so much to talk about. So let's talk about it. So the major event from 1065 was Luffy and them discovering a robot that was from 900 years ago from an advanced civilization from back then, and Dr. Vegapunk confirming that this island isn't the future. This is basically a carbon copy or very similar to an island that already existed in the past, which leads to the Void Century discussions. I just want to say I love getting these Robin chapters. This was focused only on Robin and Ohara, which is a breath of fresh air because Ohara was chapter 366 in the 300 somewhere around there. Enies Lobby, Water 7. So it's so good to see some Robin love and talking about her ancestors. And Oda is a genius. Honestly, at this point, Oda could have foreshadowed my birth, but just with how he's able to connect all the dots, and I'm going to bring it up a little bit later in the video when we get to it, but I swear to God, there's no way he's had this all planned out because Enies Lobby was 2007, Water 7 was probably 2006. So are you telling me we've waited 15 to 16 years for all these dots to get connected? But Vegapunk is talking about how this world has existed before, this futuristic city has existed in the past, but it's just a theory. But in this world of archaeologists, there was one man who risked his life to find out about this futuristic kingdom, and that is the old man from Ohara, Professor Clover. And we get kind of an idea of what the blank century could have been. We're touched about it, and I thought it was like this. I thought this was kind of like how the blank century was and what it was actually, but Dr. Vegapunk says that the blank century started with this futuristic kingdom that had their own ideology and beliefs that were different from the rest of the world, fought essentially what was the world government, which was 20 kingdoms that banded together to defeat this futuristic kingdom. And for reasons of their beliefs and ideology, it differs from what we wanted because the world government is very corrupt, and maybe the futuristic society wanted everyone to be equal and freedom for everyone, stuff like that. So the world government, those 28 countries, were like, we don't want this. We want to be like rulers. So they banded together to take down this futuristic kingdom. But hearing Oda finally confirm this, it's like a breath of fresh air and a relief, just because I was on the right track of what the Void Century was. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people understood that this was the only logical thing it could be. We also get confirmation as to why Ohara was targeted for a buster call and was destroyed. And it was because Professor Clover was on this track of understanding the Void Century, and he found out about the futuristic society, and that's why they were destroyed by the Marines, because they did not have the same ideology. And thus, when the Marines found out that they were exploring the Void Century and kind of found out about this futuristic kingdom that existed, I assume the Marines did something heinous, so they can't let that information getting out, so that's why Ohara was bombed. And Dr. Vegapunk is basically saying that Professor Clover's theory is true, because why would they kill him if the theory wasn't true? So by doing the buster call on Ohara, they basically confirmed that everything they researched was in fact true. And we get this beautiful moment between Robin and Dr. Vegapunk where Dr. Vegapunk says, I'm a scholar, so I research everything, and the will of Ohara is not dead and it lives within me. And of course you. Also get some great flashback to Professor Clover as a young man, because Dr. Vegapunk was good friends with Dr. Clover. And you get to see like a little image of their exploits when Dr. Clover was young and traveling the world. Then we get to see some Dr. Vegapunk flashbacks when he heard that Ohara was bombed. He went to Ohara to pay respects for his dear friend that died. And then you get to see a body of water filled with books that the people of Ohara defended with their lives. They threw books out of that burning tree when the Buster Call was going on to save the knowledge that they have collected throughout all these years. And just Robin hearing that and hearing that the knowledge survived started bringing her to tears, and it brought back all the flashbacks from Water 7 and Ohara. And honestly, it was really beautiful. I love seeing Robin getting these moments and getting this closure that she needed from Ohara. Dr. Vegapunk was saying how I wanted to bring these books with me back to Punk Hazard, but if I brought him, the higher ups would have found out. But thank God no one in the Navy went to go check on the island and check for these books. But when he got there to pay his respects, who do we see? Come on. His name is Dragon. We get to see Dragon. He is there and he's with giants, and giants are pulling out the books from this big body of water. They're just pulling out the books. And I thought they were Dragon's people, but Dragon's like, I have no idea who these people are, but they seem to have a profound respect for this knowledge, so I'll let them have the books. And then we just see Dr. Vegapunk's real form, his human form, when he went to go visit Ohara. And him and Dragon are just chatting and saying how Dragon wanted to recruit Dr. Vegapunk for his freedom fighters back in the day, but Dr. Vegapunk was like, no, you guys are too poor. My mind is so powerful and I want to utilize it, but if you guys don't have the research to pay for my studies, then it's not even worth me teaming up with you. I'm only teaming up with the government because they'll pay so I can do experiments and learn about the world. And I will say, I forgot to point this out, Vegapunk's design is fantastic. He has a really big head, and that makes a lot of sense for smartest character in One Piece to have literally like a pronounced head. Very Oda-like, very silly. I really like the design of the real Dr. Vegapunk. Get some nice shots with Dragon saying that this is why I want to create a revolutionary army, and this is why the government can't stand, because they murdered a bunch of innocent people who were just in love with knowledge. We get this amazing small little panel, but it was my favorite. It's where Dr. Vegapunk says, the books of Ohara didn't fall into the government hands because I was very interested in them, so I secretly went to Elbath, where the giants took him to read them. And he said, in other words, I read all about the Ohara and the secrets of the world. And in that panel, you see a very familiar silhouette, a giant wrapped in bandages, who's instructing Dr. Vegapunk on what to read and everything. And it's confirmed in this chapter when Robin's is like, the name of the giant captain is Sol, right? And Dr. Vegapunk is like, right now he's in hiding, so no one will disclose his whereabouts. And this is fantastic. I wasn't really sure how I feel because, I like when characters die because it gives weight to the series. And in One Piece, a lot of people survive and you just don't feel the weight of someone's death. So I was kind of a little upset until my friend Nate Bishop was telling me about it. Going back to what I said earlier, Oda is the foreshadowing god, and let me tell you why. So take a journey back in time with me to chapter 397 of One Piece. It is titled To Reach the Future, and in this chapter there's a panel with Aokiji fighting Sol, and he freezes Sol, and the move he uses is Ice Time Capsule. So first of all, we have the chapter titled To Reach the Future. Second, the move that Aokiji uses is Ice Time Capsule, which time capsules are used to preserve things. And third, we know that Aokiji is actually a very good dude. He's the only person that has sympathy, morals, and kind of questions what the government does, because he's the one who's let Robin live all this time. And he didn't kill Sol. He used Ice Time Capsule. He was going to kill his friend. So he basically just made it seem like he was going to kill Sol, but didn't. And in the chapter where Aokiji shows up and completely freezes Robin in the pre-time skip, Chopper's just like, I've never seen anyone fully frozen, and Aokiji said that she's still alive, but I don't understand how. Oda literally put the pieces in front of us all those years ago. We never took that same logic and applied it to Sol, which is incredible, and Oda is literally the GOAT for this. This is just not all coincidences, especially with the chapter title being To Reach the Future, and it finally got to Robin. And seeing Robin cry and get emotional that Sol is still alive. She has the cutest smile when Sol is confirmed to be alive. It reminds me of the Dedashishi that Robin did when she was a kid and the smile she did when she was a kid. It's just so heartwarming. I can't wait to see these two finally reconnect after all these years. But Dr. Vegapunk's just like, don't let Ohara's battle go in vain. I'm an ally for every scholar, so he takes his research over his affiliation to the government. And he's just like, I got one more thing I gotta show you guys before I can release you. But before you to see that, we cut to Luffy and everyone again back at the junkyard to see this robot from 900 years ago. I think it's gonna move. It's gonna need a password or anything like that. And the robot starts moving after Luffy does something dumb like, hey, Mr. Robot, start moving. But the cool thing is you get to see someone sticking out of the armor, kind of like reminiscent of Kinemon back in Punk Hazard when it was just his legs, and that's how the crew found him. Turns out that this is the real Vegapunk. I don't know if this is another android, but I don't think so. I think this is the real Vegapunk. This is how he looks like, because it looks exactly how he looked back in the flashback when he was a younger Vegapunk with the giant head. So I think this is the real Vegapunk, and he's just like, hey, please help me. He was stuck in this robot, and Luffy and Chopper and Bonnie and Jinbei all free him. And that's how the chapter ends. Amazing chapter. 10 out of 10. I love getting the confirmation of the Void Century and what it actually is. The only thing we're trying to figure out is how does Joy Boy fit in here, and I'm pretty sure Joy Boy is at the center of the futuristic kingdom, the original Joy Boy, not Luffy. And just this foreshadowing that Oda spent 16 years to do is just beyond incredible. And now I just want to reread all of One Piece and see exactly things that he probably foreshadowed back then that are going to come to fruition in later chapters. I just want to reread everything and take notes about everything. This chapter was amazing. I want to shout out my boy again, Nathan Bishop, for giving me the layup on the Aokiji ice time capsule thing, because I probably would have never even realized it. I'm so excited for all these lore drops and I can't wait to get more of them, but we're finally getting towards that end game, and I honestly didn't think we'd get to the Void Century until after we found the One Piece, but now we're getting at least a little bit more pieces of the puzzle, but we for sure know exactly what it's going to be about. But let me know what you guys thought about this chapter in the comments below. I would love to know what all you guys think about it. And please don't forget to drop this video a like and subscribe. Just click the little button down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
そうそうこうやんだでデレシシシシシシシ
デレシシシシシシシシ
うめえうめえデレシシシシシシ
デレシシシシシシシ